My name is Ruth Chase, and the night my parents celebrated 35 years of marriage was the night they erased me from their lives. What they did in front of 200 guests was humiliating. What they did not know was that I would never give them another chance to do it again. If you have ever been the daughter who tried too hard, who kept quiet to keep the peace, who showed up even when it hurt, then you will understand exactly why I walked out of that ballroom and never came back. The anniversary party was supposed to be elegant, a grand hotel downtown, crystal chandeliers, a live band playing soft jazz, servers walking around with trays of champagne. My mother had planned it for months. She wore a silver gown that shimmered under the lights. My father stood beside her in a tailored tuxedo, smiling like a man who believed he had built a perfect life. I stood near the back of the room, holding a small wrapped gift. I had spent weeks choosing it, a custom leather-bound photo album filled with pictures from their early years, including photos they had almost forgotten existed. I thought it would make them proud of me. I thought it would make them see me. Instead, it became the reason they decided to make an example out of me. You need to understand something about my family. I was never the golden child. That title belonged to my older brother, Daniel. Daniel was the successful one, the one who became a corporate attorney by 28, the one who bought a luxury condo before he turned 30, the one my parents introduced with glowing admiration to anyone who would listen. And then there was me, Ruth Chase, the daughter who chose art over law school, the daughter who started a small design business instead of chasing a six-figure salary, the daughter who divorced at 32 after realizing her marriage was built on compromise and silence. To my parents, I was a disappointment they tolerated. When the speeches began, I felt my stomach tighten. My father tapped his glass and thanked everyone for coming. He spoke about loyalty and sacrifice. He praised my mother for being the perfect wife. He told stories about raising children and building a legacy. Then he called Daniel to the stage. Daniel gave a polished speech about family honor and hard work. He joked about how he inherited my father's strength and my mother's intelligence. The room laughed warmly. Cameras flashed. My parents looked proud. Then my mother took the microphone. She smiled in my direction, but there was something sharp behind it. She said she wanted to say a few words about both her children. I felt a small spark of hope. Maybe this was the moment she would acknowledge that I had built something on my own. Maybe she would finally say she was proud of me too. Instead, she laughed lightly and said, raising a glass, "Here is to spending thousands raising children. At least one of them paid off." The room erupted in awkward laughter. I felt the blood rush to my face. She continued, "Ruth always had a creative spirit. We just never knew that meant she would creatively avoid stability." More laughter. My father added, "Some children follow the blueprint. Others frame it and hang it on the wall." I stood there, frozen, while guests glanced at me with sympathy disguised as amusement. I felt smaller than I had ever felt in my life. My mother was not finished. She said, "We always hoped Ruth would find her direction. Maybe tonight she will be inspired by her brother's example." She raised her glass again. To success. The clinking of crystal sounded like a verdict. I did not cry. I did not argue. I did not make a scene. I placed the wrapped album on the gift table, turned around, and walked out of the ballroom while the band resumed playing. No one followed me. That was the moment I understood something I had been avoiding for years. I was not misunderstood. I was simply unwanted in the version of family they wanted to present to the world. In the parking garage, I sat in my car and stared at the steering wheel. I thought about every holiday I rearranged my schedule to attend, every criticism I swallowed, every comparison to Daniel I tried to laugh off. I realized I was exhausted from auditioning for love that was never going to be given freely. So I made a decision that shocked even me. I would never go back. The next morning, my phone was filled with messages from extended relatives telling me not to take it personally. It was just a joke. My parents did not mean it that way. I should understand their sense of humor. But humiliation disguised as humor is still humiliation. My mother left a voicemail saying I embarrassed her by leaving early. She said guests had noticed. She said I needed to learn how to handle light-hearted teasing. There was no apology. That voicemail made something in me go quiet. Not angry, not dramatic, just calm. I blocked their numbers. I did not post about it online. I did not confront them publicly. I simply disappeared from their daily lives. No more Sunday dinners, no more birthday calls, no more pretending. At first, they assumed I would return. My father sent a short email 2 weeks later reminding me about Thanksgiving plans. It did not mention the anniversary speech. It did not acknowledge what happened. It read like nothing had changed. I did not respond. Months passed. In that silence, something unexpected happened. My business grew. Without the constant anxiety of proving myself, I started taking bigger risks. I landed a contract with a national brand that tripled my income. I hired 2 employees. I moved into a brighter apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the city. For the first time, I felt successful on my own terms. Then, about a year later, I received a certified letter from a law office. My hands trembled when I opened it. It was regarding my grandmother estate. My grandmother had passed away quietly 6 months earlier. No one had informed me. In her will, she had left equal shares to Daniel and me. However, there was a note attached in her handwriting. It said, "Ruth has always had courage to be herself. I hope this gives her freedom." Tears blurred the page. When my parents learned I had received my share directly, they were furious. Apparently, they had expected to manage it. They believed I would not know how to handle the funds responsibly. That was when my father called from a new number. He said, "We need to discuss this like adults." I agreed to meet them at a cafe. It was the first time I had seen them since the anniversary. They looked older, less certain. My mother started by saying she was disappointed that I cut them off over a harmless joke. My father said, "Family does not abandon family." I listened quietly. Then he shifted the conversation to my grandmother inheritance. He suggested that I invest it through Daniel firm for proper oversight. That was when I understood something important. They were not there to repair our relationship. They were there because money was involved. I calmly told them that I had already invested it with a financial advisor, one who respected my decisions. I told them my business had grown significantly. I told them I was financially stable and independent. My mother blinked in surprise. My father asked how much I was earning now. I told him. Silence. For the first time in my life, they looked at me without condescension. They looked at me like I was someone they did not fully recognize. My mother said, "Why did you not tell us?" I replied, "You were not listening." The conversation ended without resolution. They did not apologize. I did not ask for one. I stood up, wished them well, and walked away. That was the last time I saw them in person. 2 years passed. Daniel called me unexpectedly one evening. His voice was tense. He said our parents were having financial trouble. Investments had failed. My father's retirement plan was not as secure as he believed. He hinted that they might need support. I felt a wave of conflicting emotions: anger, sadness, a familiar pull of obligation, but I also remembered the ballroom, the laughter, the way no one followed me. I told Daniel I hoped they would find a solution. I said I was focusing on my own future. He accused me of being cold. Maybe he was right, but I had learned that protecting my peace is not cruelty. It is survival. A week later, my mother sent a long email. It was the first time she acknowledged the anniversary night directly. She said she did not realize how deeply her words hurt me. She said she felt pressured to entertain guests and went too far. She did not fully apologize, but it was closer than anything before. At the end of the email, she asked if we could start again. I read it several times. For a moment, I imagined going back, reclaiming a version of family that might finally see me. Then I asked myself one honest question. If nothing had changed financially, would this email exist? The answer felt clear. I responded politely. I told her I wished them health and stability. I told her I hoped they would reflect on how words can shape relationships. I told her I needed distance to continue building the life I worked so hard to create. I did not say I loved her. I did not say I forgave her. I simply chose myself. Today, when I think about that anniversary party, I do not feel rage anymore. I feel gratitude, because that humiliation forced me to stop begging for validation. Sometimes walking away is not revenge, it is self-respect. My parents wanted a daughter who fit their blueprint. I became a woman who built her own. And if they ever wonder why I never came back, the answer is simple. The night they raised their glasses to success, they taught me that I would only ever be welcome if I became someone else. So I left. And for the first time in my life, I was finally home.